All right, folks, welcome back. We are now going to get started with the very interesting topic of agents. Those of you who, I guess we have all, as we watched Matrix and the whole sequence of Matrix, and it was all about agents, chasing AI agents all over the place.
James Bond.
Yes.
007.
Yeah. So today's topic is agents. And I will give you an introduction to agents, which is a little atypical, and partly because most of you, I assume, you haven't taken a formal course in artificial intelligence, because in artificial intelligence, there's a formal definition of what agents are. And there are, obviously, it forms a pretty significant core of the topic of artificial intelligence. But we'll look at it from a very practical perspective. Right. So, in fact, I'll drop or not use any of the traditional vocabulary or jargon associated with um, AI agents in the textbook sense. Now, for agents, the way I thought I would do it is I would give you guys a brief explanation, and we will treat this as a learn by doing process. Guys, I know that you guys are very busy, you guys are tired, you guys have deadlines, and everything is happening. At the same time, this is not a topic you can ignore. 2024 is very much the year of the agents, AI agents. The latest and greatest things that are happening is with agents. Now, when I look back, just about every problem that I have solved in the last few years, I realized that I could have solved it much better with agents. And I'm going back and redoing a lot of the work with agents, right? That should give you a sense of how important a topic it is, right? It is worthy of a textbook in its own right. It's a vast topic. And of course, it is at the core of AI. So before I go into what are agents, how do they work, and so on and so forth, let me give you all the key resources. First is GitHub has a tradition. I mean, there are lots of people who post so-called a curated list of the best on the topic. On the topic of agents, this is an awesome, um, here's an awesome list, which is very good actually. It has garnered uh, 5,600 stars. It talks about the landscape of agents. Just looking at this picture, I hope you see that even if I shrink the thing, you see how vast the landscape of agents is, how many open source and closed source commercial projects are in progress. It's a very rich landscape of activity. And it's not, when I said that 2024 is the year of agents, I was not exaggerating, and I hope you see that. It is the core topic of this year. Any problem you are solving, if you ask yourself, can I use agent? In 5 minutes, you'll realize that yes, the answer is yes. So I will give you guys a problem which is relatively easy, but not too easy to do with agent. I've designed the problem in such a way that it will force you to learn a few open source projects and at the same time to learn the various aspects of it. We will create a multi-agent application. Now, a few libraries that you must use. When you do agents, you do use prompting. We have done CoStar-based prompting. We have done instructor-based prompting. I introduced you to DSPY, but we didn't cover it in too much detail. In the next 3 weeks, I want you guys to master DSPY. What is this? As the name suggests, programming, not prompting foundational models. Basically, it is a way of programmatically prompting language models, an efficient way of doing that. The DSPY is gaining, it's amazing, but it is hard, relatively. Compared to CoStar, it's harder. So in levels of difficulty, CoStar was the easiest. You didn't need know any programming. Instructor needed programming, but all you had to know was Pydantic. DSPY, you better know what you're doing, right? And yet, it is the emerging gold standard.
And it's both for input and output?
Is both.
Okay.
One of the nice things that DSPY is doing is it is busy doing integrations with the Pydantic, very much like Instructor, and inspired by Instructor. So you get everything. Take DSPY very, very seriously, guys. The second thing that I'll give you a little bit of an idea of what it is. So this is DSPY. As literally this GitHub says, programming, not prompting foundation models. Though I would reinterpret it by saying programmatically prompting the foundation models. Right? And yeah, the first sentence is much more accurate when it says DSPY is a framework for algorithmically optimizing LM prompts and weights, language model prompts, especially when LMs are used one or more times within a pipeline. And guys, what are LMs? Let me speak a word on that. People have gotten used to the word LLM, large language model. Large is redundant and large is relative. So the more formal research community always stuck with just language models, LMs. Okay? And more people are reverting back to LM as the word rather than LLM. So they treat these words as synonyms. Then the next framework that I want you to learn about is the easiest of them all. OpenAI has created the Assistance API. Very easy to learn. Now, guys, here is what I would say. When you do it with OpenAI, it's a commercial tool. It's very easy. Do this in your first attempt. Are we together? Because it is easy to work with this, not because this is the way you should do it. Otherwise, you'll forever be paying licensing fees to these guys. Are we together? So we will expect in this bootcamp, and I'll walk through the solution. Ideally, I want you to do it with open source, LLM, or open source language models. Ollama is the way that I would suggest you go. Now, please read this. In particular, this article, deep dive into assistants and how assistants work. Read through this documentation in great detail. It's not too much. Within half an hour, you would have read, or 1 hour, you would have carefully studied the documentation associated with OpenAI assistants. Of all the agents framework, I would say this is your shortest path to getting started. Are we together?
That was
OpenAI assistants. Right? Use this, guys. Use this.
Is that free
or OpenAI is never free, right? Or maybe I don't know if there's a free version, because I have a subscription. I end up not even asking that question. So assume that you have a $20 a month subscription to it.
There is no free version, Asif. I checked around.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Madhu, for mentioning that. And then Autogen. Autogen is something I asked you guys to learn and do early on, right? You haven't had much traction, but the next 3 weeks is about multi-agent. We are building an application that is heavily multi-agent, and I'll talk about that project shortly. Guys, I cannot tell you these assets, the fact that they exist today in 2024, people in 2021 could not have even dreamt of, right? If they were asked, when will this be possible? They would have said in 50 years, right? World is the fact that these miraculous tools are there for you and you're not using it. That itself is perhaps I find the most perplexing, right? When I gave you guys that homework with Autogen and fairly almost no success with it. No, there is success with it. There is Albert who did a solution with Autogen, but that's the only person. How about you, Isha?
No, not with Autogen. I just used Ollama.
Oh, you used Ollama directly?
Yeah.
Okay, so now is the time to use Autogen. Guys, please do become familiar. See, I'm not asking you to become familiar with some obscure, unheard of tools. These are fast emerging as de facto standards. Are we together, guys? Please.
Manoj and we also used Ollama and did some projects there as well. just giving you an
Oh.
extra student.
Very nice. This is great. And the next one that I'll mention is Crew AI, which think of it as an alternative to AutoGen. Another cutting edge, as they call themselves, cutting edge framework for orchestrating role-playing autonomous AI agents. By fostering collaborative intelligence, Crew AI empowers agents to work together seamlessly, tackling complex tasks. So why Crew AI, etc., etc. So you can go into that. Again, these are not minor projects. These are leading ones. And Olama is something, it is practically a criminal offense not to be using something like this on a day-to-day basis.
I know you can add language.
A Langgraph, yes. One more I will add is Langgraph. Right? I will add a link to that.
I was gonna +1 for that. I'm actually interested in learning about the lang graph. We can discuss that. This is Arun. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. I will add Langgraph. Remind me that I add it right after the break. So I'll do that. So guys, with all of these tools, and I put some YouTube videos, hopefully they'll motivate you. They were, I mean, I put them because they're easy to follow. Let's put it this way. These YouTube videos are short and they're very easy to follow. And hint, one of these 3 YouTube videos practically lays the template for your solution, for your this project. So guys, this project that we are going to do is the project for the second half of your bootcamp. And over the weeks, we will build on this project slowly. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right. So what is this project? Let me get into this project. We'll call this project the AI Journalist. Yeah, I'll make it 1 second. And give me a moment. What this AI Journalist project is, I will now describe it is. So I'll talk a little bit about the publishing pipeline. Suppose, look at traditional journalism. Imagine that there is a company or your New York Times, and there is a department that produces the scientific the AI newsletter or what's happening in the AI world, right? So whenever you come across a thing like this, there are many activities that are done. First of all, you will have people searching, you will have, let's just say, researchers, right, finding what's new and proposing worthwhile candidates. Oh, actually, I apologize. I'm told that the reading is much better if I do it on a black screen. So I apologize. I'm going to switch to black before I continue. Better? Much more readable. Yeah, I'm going to. So for now, I'll just write it. I wish I can change the color of this to something else. Let's see if, yeah, much better. Right? And proposing worthwhile candidates for News Weekly. Isn't it? So you need a bunch of researchers looking into that. So I want you guys all to get into the mode of traditional journalism. Do you think one person is enough to look at the whole field of AI? So what would you typically do if you're a New York Times, for example? What would you do? Any suggestions?
What's the question? Sorry.
The question is, if you are New York Times and you're the head of the AI news, And every week in the Sunday edition, you need to come out with a AI newsletter.
One researcher per domain.
Yes, what you would do is you would have one or two, one researcher, usually maybe at least one researcher per topic, isn't it? And that means that you need a few topics. So some good topics are some usual suspects for topics are, what are they? You could have computer vision. You could have natural language processing, NLP. You could have just the machine learning, the foundational models itself, right? Foundational neural nets, transformers, or language model, etc. The theory of this. You could have a breakthrough in multimodal, like for example, diffusion models, etc. Diffusion, audio, etc. Right? And you could have, well, breakthroughs in time series. You could have this in tabular data. What is the latest in tabular data, and so forth. And you could go on and pick a few topics. So what would you do? You need to hire at least one researcher for each of these. Does that make sense? Do you think every week there is a finding on each of these topics? New research on each of these topics? Actually, there is. Every day, just in neural networks, I believe close to 260 papers come out. Right? So, or every week, I think it's every day, not every week. Huge number of papers come out, right, throughout, like in the preprints, like in the archives and so on and so forth. If you look across all the topics, every single topic has its area in the subject, and you will see that there are submissions every day on each of these topics coming in. Okay? So you have all of this, these researchers. Where will they get the news from? Source the findings. You need to worry about the sources. And so I would suggest that researchers will look into where? What are some of the places you would look into?
Archive.
Archive is a no-brainer for emerging research. Go ahead.
You can steal all of the Twitter pages, so I have like all the information.
Which pages?
There's like 100 accounts who just like all their entire like thing is just they post a bunch of papers, like an explanation of the papers.
Oh, would you send a link? So Anas says something. He'll send a link. He says that those are accounts that just post explanations of papers.
There's like a bunch of accounts. That's their like entire following.
News aggregators.
News aggregators. Okay. Yashila?
Oh, you could look at like research group websites. So like for Google, for example, DeepMind has like its own like,
Exactly.
website which publishes all the stuff. That's
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. So guys, hang on. I want to dwell on what Yashila said. Guys, what I do. So I'll tell you what I do. You know that I'm not much onto social media. I get my social media news from you guys. Right? I'm still the kind of guy who doesn't hardly even watches my messages on the phone. I just hope people give me a direct phone call. Right? So, but what I do is I keep track of all the research organizations, most of them. This, MIT, then you keep FAIR is Meta, right? Microsoft, OpenAI, their research portals. I find them rich, and I try to read just about everything they come out with. If they come out with it, better read it, right? it's just vital to do that. Now on Twitter, as you know, these days there are a couple of Twitter influencers. Whichever paper they mention immediately becomes hot, right? They wield extraordinary power, right?
Possibly you should become one.
Oh, I am a nobody. Remember, I'm just a teacher. Okay, so archive, news aggregators, DeepMind, Twitter influencers. Go ahead.
So I don't know. I used to read news from news.y combinator.
Oh, yeah, Hacker News.
Hacker News.
And tech.
Nobody knows right now. Nobody does.
Etc.
Actually, I think also an interesting thing is tracking like funding like trends through like Y Combinator and like TechCrunch and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and
Y Combinator, TechCrunch,
There are a lot of stuff.
and of course Reddit. So guys, can I suggest an activity? On the course portal, I'm going to put a database that where we can collaboratively add links that we think are worth aggregating or harvesting from. Then, let us use the collective intelligence or wisdom of crowds to create a really good repository of sources to scan for good content. Can we please do that as a collective exercise? Right? So I will create that database right in this break itself. And all you have to do is go add entries to it. Right.
there is a paid subscription called Startup Database also.
Yeah, so please add it, right? Add it. Instead of us spending time just remembering one at a time, let's go and put it all together in one place. Right? Let us all do that. So Prakash just mentioned this, there's a paid service called Startup Database. Right. So yeah, if it is relevant, let's put it there. So what we should do is come up with 30, 40 good aggregations. So these would be the sources that you would keep your eye on. But one source that we shouldn't miss is news aggregators is obviously the journals, right? For example, Nature, etc., right? Scientific American or whatever. IEEE, Explore, or Spectrum, ACM, or whatever. Some of these are paid, and so you have to use it with proper authentication, I suppose. Let us collect, but let's collect all these sources. Right? Like, for example, Nature is a no-brainer. We all, I suppose, at least some of us, studiously study all the articles coming out in Nature, at least the ones that we can understand. Right? So that's that. So this is it. We need researchers who will find that. Then they will propose candidates. And then what do you need? You need
Committee of
you need reviewers who will pick the winning candidates on each topic. Are we together? Pick top 3 to 5. Are we together? Does it make sense? Guys, one more thing. If you can, on these things, gather trend statistics. How can you gather trend statistics on the topic? Google Trends. One way of doing it. We have an API, Google Trends. You can use this as an aid, isn't it? Reviewers will pick the winning topics. Next thing you do is 3, we'll bring in the journalist. What will the journalist do? For each topic will write an essay, understandable by the generalist professional in the field means you don't have to be a specialist in computer vision to understand it. For example, a generalist professional in the field. So that's your audience. Generalist professional in software, in the software field. You need those journalists to create the draft. They will write, they will produce a draft. Next thing that you do is you bring in proofreaders. Readers. What do proofreaders do in a publishing pipeline? We'll come to fact checking. So maybe even before we bring in the proofreaders, or maybe in a reverse order, we need to bring in fact checkers. So I'll park it here. Fact checkers. What proofreaders do here, we will just use. How many of you are using a proofreader? How many of you have hired a proofreader? Grammarly, exactly. So use Grammarly has a lightweight Grammarly as an open source on Hugging Face. Use the open source Grammarly,
But it's
or equivalent to proofread, to fix the text. And does it need fixing? Yeah, LLMs, the text LLMs produce today do need fixing, right? So you can make certain rules, journalistic rules. For example, to always use active voice, to do this and that, right? Every publishing house has a certain tone, right? Has a certain way of presenting it. So the proofreader can enforce that. Then fact checkers.
it depends on the basically subject and bias also. They also introduce bias.
That is right. That is where the fact checkers will come in. So ensure
Yeah.
that the facts are correct. Fact checkers, right? And then let's add it as a separate.
For proofreading, sir.
Come again?
Can LLM can be used like
Grammarly is a LLM.
No, additional LLM.
Yeah, there are. It's available in Hugging Face. That's what I said. Open source Grammarly. Grammarly itself has contributed a light version of itself.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So bias and adverse impact. Check for that. Check for that. Usually, this is the legal department. The legal department does it. Check for that. And finally, once this is done, right, you bring in, once the raw things are done, what you do is, you typically, say, I don't know if you should use the word copy editor, create a final version based on certain constraints, right? So final version, which specifically follows a template. And the template should be from the text. First, it will have at the top some strong quote, right? Just to draw people in. Are we together? Right? To draw it in. And then it will have first paragraph is summary. Then text. Are we together? Yeah.
What about formatting? Like
Do your own formatting. Okay. And we'll come to that in a moment.
So
But
this is a project, right?
This is your project. This is the project for the rest of the class. Right? Can it be done? Guys, of course it can be done. I've done it.
agents.
Right? So it is very doable. So you do all of this and then you go to the layout.
Yeah, layout.
The layout. The layout of this presentation should be like this. It should have multiple pages, right? front page should have a cover image, which should be a collage of some of the bigger news items with good captions. It should be a generated image, captions from Lava. Have your captions from Lava? Are we together? Each of these are. And what is Lava making the captions out of?
Images.
From this text, copy editor, right? And where are the images coming out of? Again, from the results of the copy editor, right? So you will use some diffusion model to generate some images. Or what you can do is, better still, because diffusion models at this moment are not very good at doing abstract subjects, you will extract some image from the source, some key image from the source, right? Iconic image from the paper or the source. You will just put it there with a caption. Go ahead.
So the front page has images, one full image, or
No, I'm just starting. I'm saying it's a collage of images. So imagine it's
it's like a
viewing
portal.
gallery. It's a viewing gallery
It's just
of
like a
many
portal
images.
with all the tabs,
Yes,
tiles.
that is it. And tiles and with little captions.
So is this a digital newspaper or?
It's start out as a digital newspaper. Yeah, go ahead.
So effectively, like the layout section could be like the orchestrator for the copy editor. This is effectively the same job that like a head editor would do.
That is exactly what it is. Finally, right? It is.
If
And
that's the case, then you can use that as like a framework to define to the copy editor how long each section should be.
that is right. It is. And that's what it is. So guys, the layout, right? What I would suggest you do in the beginning is, and this is a little bit of a HTML and etc. Templatization. Create your HTML plus tailwind, etc. template for digital. Optionally, create a PDF template. PDF template, I would say, do it in text template for PDF, right? That you can email. Are we together? And finally, you need an agent that will email this to a subscription list. So, by the way, I'm not done with this page, but anyway, let me keep this item for longer. You start with this. You write actually, let me bring this later. I shouldn't bring it here. We are still talking about layout. Start with an image and start with one editorial, which would be developments of the week. So it should focus on the key developments. It should summarize things from every field. Are we together? So see, the copy editor of every field will produce a final text. You take all the text and then you summarize and you put a narrative on top. Are we together?
Ask it, this is real time. Suppose I go and scrape down the things, put it in files.
Does
text
it need
file.
to be real time? It's up to you. All I'm saying is that once a week it has to go out.
Okay, once a week.
Yeah. So the developments of the week should be text summarizing, text synthesizing, not summarizing, synthesizing a narrative from each of the topic output. What comes out of the copy editing? Finally, you need to do this. Then there should be the topics, cards for topics that you can drill down on, CV, NLP, let's say anomalies, whatever your topics are, drill down into that. And each drill down page should look like that. What it should contain, let's say a CV, computer vision page or in the written form chapter should look like this. It should be, again, some image, which just pick an iconic image from the sources, caption. Now, once again, in editorial, specific to that topic, synthesizing the key developments, the ones that you picked, right? Then it should contain item one, it's simplified short description that addresses what, why is it significant, why is it significant, where was it done, where and by whom, mention, give credit to the research groups, and potential users that you can think of, that it can think of. See, guys, no advancement is significant unless it is of some use. Is the utility value of a research. In research, there are only two conditions that you have to fulfill if you write a research paper. Can somebody guess what are the two conditions for something to be accepted in a journal?
References to the reproducible.
Yeah. So basic ethics is it should be reproducible, be written in a proper language, have the proper format. Those are the hygiene stuff. But
Plagiarism.
no plagiarism. I'll put it under hygiene. Yeah. See, a thing is worthy. A research is worthy of publication if it meets two criteria. One, it must be original work, something innovative, and B, that innovation should have actual real-world impact. Right. So one example that is often given in the field is that somebody went and studied all the poets who wrote a particular form of poetry in medieval England, right? And what he did is, he specifically did on that topic of medieval England, he did a statistical analysis of the words used and then submitted it for publication. Well, how useful is it, right? So the journal rejected it simply on the question that wonderful research, original, nobody has done it, but to who is it going to benefit? Right. Now, one can argue that it has some utility, actually. Maybe it was harsh, but that's the nature of research. So you need to also talk about potential uses, right? No research is useful. So this is it, guys. This is your project. Does it make sense? And then finally, step 9, you need to be able to do email, Twitter, and what is all this social media? Facebook, Instagram,
TikTok.
Oh, even TikTok. Does TikTok have an API?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
And Twitter.
LinkedIn. I don't know. Pick your things, but a few. See, if you get it right, now I want you guys to do all of these things through AI agents. Are we together? So think through this. This is do you realize that to do this is a multi-agent collaboration? Would you agree?
Yes.
Right. It's a multi-agent collaboration. See, if you produce a newsletter, you're addressing the audience that is not going and reading the research, original research, because most people are not used to reading original research papers, unlike you guys. Right? So you're addressing a wider audience. A lot of journalism is that, right? Making things, news, facts accessible. Let us create collectively AI news. Do you think this is a good project? How many of you feel that? Weekly newsletter, the AI
Yeah,
newsletter.
actually, this is big for even the company, not from the newsletter perspective, but a company's marketing department.
Absolutely. So guys, do this. I've focused it for you. There's one collaborative aspect, the sources of news. I'll post it on the course portal. Now for this project, I'll create a section and I will put a forum there. You're welcome. So would you guys like to keep the discussion in Slack, or would you like to keep all discussions pertaining this topic to the course portal? Course portal? Anybody remote has an opinion? Here I'm hearing course portal.
Have a channel in Slack.
Sir, we keep it on Slack. What if we lose the portal?
What if we lose the portal? God forbid, please don't say that. We don't want to lose the portal.
Slack would be better.
Yeah, see, the problem with Slack, guys, is we lose it in 90 days. We lose all the data in 90 days.
Course portal.
Yeah.
Portal is better than.
Yeah, guys, if you can, please take the effort and let's keep it to this particular project. Is a new project. And guys, I know that you're exhausted. Many of the homeworks you haven't done and so on and so forth. Trust me, if you can do this.
How much time you have, Asif?
You have 3 weeks to do it.
Okay.
Right?
Not next week.
Yeah. Now,
Also,
here comes the final piece. One more thing, guys. For all of these, I want you to create, because of something we'll do in the future, I want you to start producing only for the things that are there in your newsletter. I want you to start producing a knowledge graph. Are we together? So start harvesting. So one agent's job should be, after the newsletter is ready, to harvest a knowledge graph out of it. I mean, items out of it. These are called triplets, right? For example, New Delhi is the capital of India, right? That sort of thing. It's a triplet. So start harvesting items to add to the KG knowledge graph, right?
Entity and relationships.
Entity and relationships, right? So entity, relationship, entity. Okay? This is this. So for example, AI is part of, well, let me just take neural nets is a part of ML. Right? That's sort of these are the items that you start harvesting. Does this make sense, guys? Use don't obviously none of these things should be done by hand. Remember, you have to create a framework to do all of this. Does this sound interesting? Yeah, go ahead.
We have like a list of like the tech stack for specific aspects of the project, like what's ideal to use.
Oh, for each one of these. Yeah, at this moment, I want you guys to just discuss amongst yourself. Let me just say that most of the tech stack I've already put right on the course portal. It's there. You can get away by doing that. But let me, the one thing that I would say is, yes, Patrick is asking, what other tech stack elements to use, right? See, if you can use some of the tools in LangChain. They have literally something called tools to search the web, to do this, to do that, right? And I'll post that. And you should write some of your own tools. Are we together? You could use some of that. And for each of the topics, like for example, to generate LaTeX, you should just have a template, guys. Have a LaTeX template and just know where to insert things, right? You're not going to generate a giant book out in LaTeX, but you will already have a template so that every newsletter looks as though it's coming from your company, right? It has the same look and feel. Regularity adds to credibility and to the aesthetics of any newsletter. Once people actually read your newsletter, the next one, they expect the least surprise. They want it to look the same. Right? Likewise, HTML, HTML and Tailwind, etc. What's the best tool? I'm not much of a UI person. Which is the best tool to use?
So I will give my chatbot to everybody so they can utilize it. Just a simple thing. Then they can add on tiles and do whatever.
Okay,
If that's
Albert is
useful.
going to volunteer his chatbot as a seed project that people can use to build something on. That is great. So guys, at this moment, I will take questions and then you need to do this. Now you realize that to do this, you have to learn about these agent frameworks. Start with AutoGen, start with Open AI Assistant, and continue from there. Use LangChain and continue from there. Every week, excluding today, I'll give you nothing, right? But from next week, I'll give you partial solutions. Okay? So guys, it is fun. Believe me, it's a divide and conquer. No one step is too hard. Would you agree that, guys, I'll take questions in the end. Can you please all hold your questions? No one part at this moment is very hard. I want an answer only to that question. Do you agree or not?
Yes.
No one part is hard, right? It is very doable. Do you also realize that it is not one LLM that can do everything? I mean, in one prompt, one single invocation of the LLM, you can't just co-star it in one long script. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Right. Therefore, and there is a message in here that is important, and I'll come to questions. The message is, see, if you look at the way people have been thinking of AGI, right, which everybody is in pursuit of, right? People initially thought they will create an agent that not only gives you responses like ChatGPT or something, talks to you, but goes out in the external world and has effects, does things. Some of you may remember that demo that Google did a few years ago, infamous one, in which the AI made a phone call to a barber for a haircut,
Yes.
right? And scheduled some appointments and so forth, right? So that used to be the idea that one single AI can do it. Today, we have moved away from that. Our belief is that most things will be done by a swarm of agents, right? And therefore, that explains why I have, and by the way, all of these notes I'll post immediately to the Slack channel. That's why I put this picture there for you. So when AI comes, this is how it will, AGI comes, this is how it will look.
I know how humans will look.
God knows, yeah.
As a question, is it possible to put this entire in a description of the projects?
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do.
Usually what is expected and what is the, corresponding framework we need to, it will be very.
I will put hints. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to write it all up. Actually, I was writing it up. I didn't finish it. I was sick this week. Albert, go ahead.
So
Thank
this
you.
AutoGen, is there a direct API? Say, suppose you build a workflow and stuff like that. Is there a direct API that you can use? That
Yeah.
okay, that was the thing, hard part I found.
Yeah. It is all evolving very fast. See, guys, the AutoGen just a few weeks ago and what it is today
Okay,
is different.
okay, that's good to
A
know.
lot has been added.
Thank you.
And then there's Crew AI and so forth. So guys, I would suggest start first with this awesome, right? It will give you, I mean, just looking at this picture, do you see how crowded it is, right? So you might as well be called a dinosaur in AI if you don't know agents. You agree, right?
Correct.
Right. Agents is big, and it is all about agents now going forward. So take agents very, very, very seriously. There may come a time when the first question that you may be asked if you do a startup is, what's your agent narrative? Right? So take this seriously.
Nothing certain, sir. You just said there will be agents.
Yeah. The agents coming, yeah. So we are all going to be in the we all seem to be in the matrix already.
Microsoft is building Stargate, 100 billion. Microsoft is opening. Yes, they announced it.
Stargate. Praveen is mentioning Microsoft is building something called Stargate, which is $100 million collaboration.
OpenAI.
100 billion.
100 billion.
$100 billion collaboration with OpenAI to do what? Agents?
No, not agents. They're building a data center.
A data center.
Well, we'll be taking wormholes to other worlds.
Right.
What will the humans do?
So Prakash is asking, what will humans do? Maybe we'll have to ask the agents. What will we do?
All these companies will have to pay for welfare.
I got 2 robots.
Yeah.
I got 2 robots.
2 robots.
For serve.
Yeah. So guys, in this course, actually, do you guys see a table that we haven't used in the very front? Right. It was for a robot. I had initially aspired that in this course, if we move fast enough, you would actually create a robot and train it, right, and control it from a LLM. Right. And as you know, robotics is exploding at this moment.
We do have prototype. The other day we saw they bought the students.
The students have it, yes. Yes. Such a.
Uh,
So we are, if you, I'm still toying with the idea, but there is a LLM, there's a language model and robot integration course that I'm planning at this moment. Go ahead.
Oh, Google is collecting like a foundational data set for like robotics at the moment, which I think would be like really interesting. To
Actually, post a link to Slack. I would love to see.
Because I saw that a few months ago, but I haven't looked into the data. But it's like a kind of similar to having like a foundational text corpus or like any corpus.
So Yashila mentions that Google is collecting a data set, foundational data set to train foundational models for robotics. Meta also released one for human action. So guys, all of those are hot topics, but let's get started with robots, with agents, guys, in this course. I hope you guys feel that it's a worthy second half project.
Yeah.
Right? Let's do that. I will post these.
This is individual. I think what can we team up?
This, I would strongly suggest you guys team up.
Yeah.
Do it in teams. Right? If you are daredevils, can do it alone. Others team up. But guys, please do it. Please don't come back empty-handed.
Yep.
It is a fun project. No one part is hard. Putting it all together is becoming very experienced with multi-agent collaboration and orchestration. Right? So this is what we will do. And what we are going to do in network and compute and graph neural networks is I initially have a standalone project for that, but I was toying with the idea of somehow stitching it in here. I may or may not do that, but we'll think about it. So 3 weeks for this project. But 3 weeks is frankly a tight schedule. You'll have to try. You'll have to make progress. Because you have a lot of learning to do. Right? So that's all I would say. Any questions before we end? And that's all I have for today. After that, I'll relax and I hope you work hard. Yeah, go ahead and ask.
In your experience, like how much compute did it take you to like scrape the web? Like on average, like one website.
See, so again, this comes back to tooling. People use Beautiful Soup and they write their own threading framework. I would suggest use a Scrappy server. Scrappy. Okay. And that goes to the question of tooling. And there may be something even more recent because on the scraping side, I'm not up to the latest. So that would be a good, let us share our findings on the discussion forum. I'll open a discussion forum on the course portal. Good thing is, guys, you know why it is good to discuss it on the course portal? Because you will have access to this course portal forever, right? Later on, you want to come back and see what was the discussion, or I remember that Anas proposed something really nice. I've forgotten what it is. You can come back and see it, right? So let's keep the discussion there. It is not as slick as Slack, but it works. Let's keep our discussions on this project there. So all right, guys, I'll stop with that and I'll let you guys do that. Anybody wants me to cover anything else? I'm deliberately starting first by doing rather than first by doing a lot of, going over papers and things like that. And this is all do. Right? I can talk a lot about the whole theory of agents in AI, but I think all of that can get quite theoretical and obviously AI are foundational, but let's not necessarily go there unless needed.